Hello everybody! Previously we discussed what a limit is and how we can approximate it using a calculator. Now we're going to look at how to really solve for a limit and get a certainty rather than an estimation. Let's start by using an example from a previous video. So the first thing you're always going to do when solving for a limit is just put the number in. So in this case x is approaching 2, so let's just put in 2 and see what happens. We're going to get 2 squared, which is 4, plus 4 times 2, 8 minus 12, over 2 squared again, minus 2 times 2, which is 4, and that's going to give us 0 over 0. So, unfortunately, 0 over 0 is indeterminate and doesn't help us at all, but we're not stuck yet. When we return to the original equation, we can factor both numerator and denominator, which will give us something a little bit better. So, this isn't working. We're going to turn to this, and we'll do limit as x approaches 2. And the numerator, what multiplies to negative 12 and adds to 4, positive 6 and negative 2. So x plus 6, x minus 2, and then on the bottom we're just going to pull out an x minus 2. And so now we can see that these terms cancel, so that gives us limit as x approaches 2 of x plus 6 over x. So now when we put in a 2 for x, we get 2 plus 6, which is 8 over 2, 4. And this does agree with the estimated limit that we got in an earlier video. So what we learned here is you can factor. And the reason, like what it means when you're crossing out terms like that, is that this was a hole in the equation, so it was smooth, hole, smooth. And so we're just kind of ignoring that that hole exists and then finding what the limit would be there. Now, let's look at another example where straightforward factoring isn't an option. The limit as t approaches 4 of t minus the quantity 3t plus 4 square root over 4 minus t. So again, first thing we're going to do is we're just going to put in 4. So 4 minus 3 times 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16, and the square root of 16, 4, over 4 minus 4, which is 0. So what we're getting here is another 0 over 0, indeterminate, and this doesn't help us. So we can't directly factor, but what we can do is work with the principle of algebra. So I'm just going to sort of off to the side here remind you that a plus b times a minus b equals a squared minus b squared, right? So now we're going to use that to simplify this equation by multiplying by sort of the conjugate of that numerator. So limit as t approaches 4 of t minus square root 3t plus 4. This is just rewriting 4 minus t. And now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by t plus square root 3t plus 4. And in order for us to be allowed to do this, we need to make that on the denominator 2. This is basically multiplying by 1. What this gives us, limit as t approaches 4 of, and then we're going to use this over here. So we're going to get t squared minus 3t, quantity 3t plus 4 over this 4 minus t times t plus square root 3t plus 4. So there we go. Now, this actually does not look a whole lot better. So we're going to have to, first of all, sorry about that, we're going to just sort of distribute this in. So since I'm working here with my iPad, I'm just going to rewrite this so you can see what I was doing there. T minus 4t. And don't need this either. So that distributed the minus sign. And the next thing we can do is factor that numerator. So limit as t approaches 4. And the numerator, what multiplies to negative 4 and adds to negative 3. So that's going to be t minus 4 times t plus 1. And then now, when we copy this denominator over, you're going to notice that t minus 4 and 4 minus t look a whole lot alike. And in fact, when we pull out a negative sign, they're going to be the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a negative here, and then I'm going to switch to t minus 4. And that means that we can cancel these two terms. And we get limit as t approaches 4 of t plus 1 over negative t minus, because I'm distributing, square root 3t plus 4. So now let's put in 4 again and see if that helped us. So 4 plus 1, that's 5. And then we want negative 4 minus 4 times 3 is 12 plus 4, 16. Again, square root is 4. And that gives us negative 5/8, which is the limit. Okay. As you can see from this example, canceling terms is usually the end game of solving a limit where the initial answer is indeterminate, but it can take some steps to get there. A little bit of creativity. But just keep trying to simplify the problem and separate terms, and you'll get there. Have a good day.